Alright, what's going on, guys? How's it going? I just wanted to talk real quick about what I did to get lean. Because over about 6 weeks, this is not the past 6 weeks, but over a period of about 6 weeks, I dropped 15 pounds of pure fat. I'm pretty sure I gained muscle in the process as well, but my scale weight dropped by about 15 pounds in about 6 weeks. So I did some things which I wouldn't necessarily recommend to all of you. I implemented fasting towards the beginning, just to get, to the hard part faster. I'm smoking a little cigarette here. But I used fasting in the beginning to get to the lean stages where it's a little harder, quote unquote, faster. So if you're not experienced with fasting, you've never done it before, I don't recommend what I have done, but I'll let you know what I've done. But definitely take it with a grain of salt when it comes to the fasting. There's plenty of other stuff. If you just do the other stuff, you will get there eventually as well. But I did some fasting just to kind of speed up the process for myself. So in terms of fasting, it was mainly caloric restriction and maximizing protein within that calorie budget. But let me talk real quick about the fasting. So I started out with a few 18 to 24 hour fasts. And even before that, to kind of get my body used to it, I did some intermittent fasting for, a few days up to a week or so. I did about 16 hours a day of fasting just to get my body used to that. I wasn't burning a whole lot of fat in the 16 hours, but just to get your body used to it. And then I transitioned into 18 to 24 hours. I did, I think, 3 of those. And then I did a couple 30 to 38 hour fasts. And then I did one 48-hour fast. And those 36 hours and that one 48-hour fast, that's really when I lost a lot of fat. Because once you hit about 16 hours, your glycogen is mostly depleted, so you're mostly running on fat at that point. So if you go another 20 hours past that to 36 hours, that's, for me, that was roughly 2,000 calories within 24 hours. So, a couple of those, that's over a pound of fat. And then for the 48-hour fast, that was nearly 1 pound in just that one fast. So just in fasting, I burned probably probably closer to 3 pounds, because I did some shorter ones before that. So yeah, probably 2 to 3 pounds just in fasting alone. But that was honestly a smaller part of it. The main thing that got me there is, first of all, tracking my calories every single day. I used MyFitnessPal, so this is instrumental. If you want to lose fat, go download MyFitnessPal. It's going to help you dial in so much better than just guesstimating the things that you do. So download MyFitnessPal, track everything that goes into your mouth that has calories, and try and keep it at a certain level. Now let's talk about what that level is. So what I did is I went online and found a total daily energy expenditure calculator, or TDEE for short. And I basically figured out roughly how many calories I'm burning. If I did basically nothing during a day, I was at 2,000 calories. And then up to about 2,600 calories if I was walking a lot or just staying active during that day. So it's anywhere between 2,000 and 2,700 calories on any given day. So what I did is I set my calorie target at under 2,000. So I think on MyFitnessPal it was 1960 per day. And then, but I just, as long as I was right around that 2,000 mark, that was fine by me. And then I just made sure to stay active. I got my 10K plus steps a day. That way I'm getting to at least, 24 to 2,600 calories of expenditure per day. So I was burning about 400 to 600 calories a day on top of what I was eating. And if you do that every single day for a week, that's 3,500 calories. If we take the average of 500 calories, that's 3,500 calories across a week. That's a pound of fat, 3,500 calories. Now, what I did some days, I don't, this is getting into the territory of maybe being unsustainable. But what I did on some days was, some days I had 1,600 calories. It's best to keep it consistent. I'm not gonna lie, it's best to keep it consistent. But some days I went lower, some days I went a little above. I got to like 2,200 calories or 2,400 calories. But basically what I did is, if ever I wanted to accelerate the process, I just walked more. So instead of, eating 2,000 calories doing 10,000 steps, I'd go and do like 16,000 steps. That's an extra 6,000 steps, 300 calories. So then I was probably closer to 800 calorie deficit in any given day. And if you do that, you're hitting your 1 pound of fat in like 4 or 5 days instead of 7. So it's literally just math. Just be in a calorie deficit. High protein calorie deficit is very important, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But in terms of losing fat, it's literally just math. You just gotta know how much you're burning every day and know how much you're eating every day by tracking your food. It really helps to cook everything you eat. Like, don't go out to restaurants. Don't even, if you can avoid it, avoid eating food that other people have cooked, because, unless you're watching them cook it and tracking everything that they put in there and then weighing like your portion of that and doing all the math for that can work. And obviously if you just weigh your food, you can kind of guesstimate how many calories are in it. But it makes it way easier if you're cooking every single thing that you eat. Obviously meal prepping is going to help you a lot in this process, because it gets quite time consuming to cook all your meals on the spot. So if you can meal prep, that's great. But just know exactly how many calories are going into your body and keep it at a deficit, a significant deficit. You don't want to be doing like 100 to 200 calories, because then you have basically no margin for error. If you happen to mistrack something or like just eat a cookie because you felt like it, that's your entire deficit gone. So I would recommend staying at least a 400 calorie deficit, if not closer to 500, 600, even 700 calories per day. You're gonna be hungry, you're gonna be tired. It's part of the process. It is what it is. It doesn't mean you're gonna die. You'll be fine. But yeah, the losing fat part is just math. Just stay in a calorie deficit for long enough. Do this for many weeks, multiple weeks. It depends where you're starting out from, but I'd recommend at least 4 weeks in a row. That way you're dropping 4 pounds. You might see some results depending where you're at. But if not, do this for multiple months in a row. It all depends where you're starting out from. But, if you want the results, it's just about staying consistent over time. Now, let's talk about protein, because protein is very important. It is a risk, especially once you get fairly lean and you don't have as much fat left to burn. It is possible that your body will start cannibalizing its own muscle. You do not want that to happen. If anything, you want to be building muscle, because muscle is what's going to help you burn the calories, right? So you want to keep as much muscle as you can, if not build more muscle in the process. So what you want to do is you need to be hitting enough protein every single day. So at the very least 0.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And that's if you're basically just not exercising. Well, you should be exercising, because your muscle's not going to stick around if you're not stimulating it. But this is if you're like not trying to grow muscle, you're not trying to like get more buff, I guess, more shredded. And you're literally just trying to maintain your muscle through this cut. You need to hit at least 0.6 grams, if not 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. And that's just if you're trying to maintain. And then if you're trying to build muscle during a cut, I would recommend stay closer to about 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. So, I started at 160 pounds. I was hitting 160 plus grams of protein per day. Actually, I started at 165, but I was hitting 160 plus per day. As long as it's 0.8 or above, you should be good. And then if you really want to build muscle somewhat aggressively as possible during a cut, I'd recommend being at least 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. And it is okay to go above that. Obviously, you need to eat other stuff that's not just whey protein powder. But it's okay to go above the 1 gram per pound. It's not, especially if you're young, it's not gonna really hurt you. It's harder for your body to process protein, but you will be fine. Honestly, it's not that big a deal. So just make sure you're hitting your protein. I'd say at least 0.8 grams per pound of body weight per day. 0.6 is really like the maintenance, like bare minimum, but you're likely not going to be able to build a lot of muscle off of 0.6. So just make sure you're hitting at least 0.8 to 1 gram plus per pound of body weight per day. And then fat, you want to be getting at least, well, not at least, but around about 50 to 60 grams of fat per day, just to keep your hormones healthy, keep your hormones in check. Make sure you're not, crashing your hormones because you're not eating enough fat. And make it healthy fats from whole foods, none of that seed oil shit. You can probably still lose fat while eating seed oils, but healthy whole foods are obviously better. So if you're eating avocado, butter, olive oil, that's literally all the fat sources I used during my cut was butter, olive oil, avocado. That's it. So yeah, just make sure you're getting enough fat. It's really not that much fat. It's just like 50 grams a day. And then carbs. Carbs is where most of your deficit is going to come from. Because you're probably eating, if you're a little chunky right now, it's probably because you're eating too much carbs and too much fat. So you're going to want to cut both of those down. Here's the thing, you need carbs for energy, but you probably don't need as much as you think. So there were days where I had under 100 grams of carbs. MyFitnessPal was recommending like 250. Don't really pay too much attention to what MyFitnessPal recommends. Do your own research. including this video, I'm telling you right now what levels you need to be hitting, at least in terms of protein and fat. Carbs, you really don't need that much, especially in the beginning. If you get to be really lean, your muscles are going to be depleted of glycogen. You might want to have a refeed day, but that's really only if you're like sub 15% body fat. I wouldn't really worry about it too much until you get down to 15% body fat. Yeah, so I would actually recommend keeping your carbs like under 150, definitely under 200 grams most days, because that's going to be the biggest lever that you have to meet that deficit every day, is just eating less carbs. And your body will produce energy from the fat that it's burning. Like that is the whole point. That is the entire point, is you lower your carbs so that your body has to start relying on stored body fat for energy. And that's how you burn fat. So you can definitely reduce your carbs a lot more than you think. It's possible to have 0 carb days or under 50 grams of carbs a day, and you can keep that going for quite a while, for like several weeks at a time. Especially if you've got more body fat to get rid of, you can keep that going for a very long time. Now, if you start to feel sore and sluggish all the time for no fucking reason, like you haven't even worked out in the past 48 hours, you haven't worked out, and you still feel super tired and sluggish and sore, and you're getting to the point where you're actually lean and you actually look good, you have low body fat, that's when you might need a refeed day. So you can eat you can have like 300, 400, 500 grams of carbs in a day, just to replenish your muscle glycogen so that you feel better afterwards. But after that, you can just go right back to low carbs. Really, you don't need to do low carbs. It's just the easiest macro to cut out of your diet. And obviously, don't be eating excessive fats. Don't go out too much to restaurants where they're putting oil and butter on everything. That's gonna spike your calories by a lot. Carbs and protein have 4 calories per gram of each macro. Fat has 9. So any amount of fat that you eat is going to increase your calories. So keep fat as low as possible. To an extent, you still want to be eating 50 grams of fat a day, but that's, fat is in almost everything, so it's not going to be hard to hit that 50 grams. It's probably more so going to be hard to stay at that 50 grams and not go above. Last thing, avoid alcohol at all costs. Just avoid drinking. And if you do go out drinking, you better be tracking that shit. You better be putting it in MyFitnessPal, because alcohol has a lot of calories. Alcohol itself has 7 calories per gram of alcohol. And then you're probably going to have sugar and shit in whatever drink you have. So the calories do add up. Even if it's just straight liquor, there's a lot of calories in there. So make sure, just try and stay away from alcohol in general if you're trying to lose fat, and if you're trying to build muscle, because it stops muscle protein synthesis. So you're literally killing your muscle gains with alcohol, and you're slowing down your fat loss. So just try and stay away from it at all costs. But if you have to drink, if you go out to a social function on a weekend or something, and you have a few drinks, just make sure you're tracking that in MyFitnessPal. Make it fit in your macros, make it fit in your calorie budget. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Obviously the protein is going to be for muscle growth or muscle preservation. You also need to be working out at least once a week per muscle group. And that's more of a maintenance level. If you're trying to grow, it's going to be more like 2 times a week. But if you even just do like one full body workout, and I mean full body, you hit every muscle group, do that once per week, that's gonna be enough to like stimulate your muscles enough to stick around, maybe even grow a little bit, you know, as long as you're not 5 years into the gym, past all your newbie gains, you're gonna be able to maintain, if not grow, a little bit of muscle by just doing one full body workout a week. Or maybe you don't care about all your muscle groups, there's just like one that you want to grow a lot. Just hit that at least once a week, if not 2 to 3 times if you're trying to grow it. Make sure you're getting a shit ton of protein, about like 1 gram per pound of body weight per day, and fit that into your calorie budget, which should keep you at a deficit of at least 400 calories a day, if not up to 700, 800. Anything beyond that is going to be somewhat unsustainable. You're going to get kind of crazy hunger pangs. You're going to probably feel tired a lot of the time. You're going to be hungry a lot of the time. So, you know, anywhere in that 400 to 700 range is pretty good. So, yeah, that's about it, guys. High protein, calorie deficit, and regular exercise. That's how you lose fat. And if you're interested in fasting, I would just recommend get your body used to it first before you try going for more extended fasts, because it is something you need to know what you're doing. If you're gonna fast, don't just go at it expecting it's gonna work right off the bat, because you need to get your body used to it. But apart from that, guys, that's how I got lean. That's how I dropped 15 pounds in 6 weeks. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and good luck on the journey if you're about to attempt this yourself. I hope this was helpful. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more. Coming soon. Peace.